What is he thinking? Does he like me? What is he thinking? Why'd he do that? What is he thinking? I want answers. What is he thinking? You are now listening to the podcast that has the answers you need for your love life to succeed. This is
What is he thinking?
And now, your host, Alexander V. Stevens.
Season 3, episode number 1, episode number 41 overall. Let's go. What's going on? This is Alexander B. Stevens in your eardrums one more time, bringing you your favorite podcast, the What Is He Thinking podcast. Hey, it's 2023. This is the first episode of season 3. Let's get it started on the right foot. Remember, this is the podcast that does what your ex-boyfriend never did and what your best guy friend won't do, which is
tell you the truth. Anyway, today is an Ask Alex episode, and we're just going to hop into the questions. You don't want to hear all the commercials anyway. These are questions that I've either directly received or come across on social media, and we are going to break these down. And when I say we, it's not just Alexander B, but I have Reyes J back in the building. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you back. Also have
sir.
Jay Taylor, JT. What's going on, JT?
What's happening, man? Happy to be
Give
here
it up,
too.
give it up.
All right. Now I have another voice that you might not have heard in a minute unless you are a deep down fan that heard season 1 of the podcast. I have Carl. Carl's back. What's going on, man?
Good, man. Glad to be with you.
Cool, Carl.
That's what I'm talking about. So we're not going to triple team it. What do you call it when it's 4-on-1?
Ain't no name for that.
I need to call your ex-girlfriend Anyway. All right. 4-on-1. I don't know what that's called, but hey, let's go on ahead.
Choo choo.
Let's go ahead and get into it. So, just a little background for the audience. If you do not remember, pretty much all 4 of us were born in the early 80s, so you can deduce how old we are. All 4 of us are married. I'm newly married, by the way. Reyes, you've been married for how long?
17 this year.
Wow.
17?
Yeah.
Well, by the time this comes out, you'll be 17.
Yeah.
Carl, how long you been with the same woman, and how long have you been married?
Shoot, same woman? Dude, about 17 years at this point, but been married for about 11 years next week.
11 years next week.
Yes, sir.
That's what I like to hear, man. I like when people stay together. Stay together. JT. How long have you been with your significant other, and how long have you actually been officially one?
The opposite of Carl here. So about 17 years total, and it'll be 7 years next month.
7 years next month. It's a whole lot of fall weddings going on here. I don't know. I'm summer. Y'all did it in the fall.
October's that month, man. I'm telling you.
November,
yeah.
There you go.
I'm not mad at you.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions of the guest and co-host on this podcast are their own and do not necessarily represent the views and thoughts of Alexander B. Stevens unless they are explicitly endorsed or echoed by the host. Girl, you better ask Alex.
All right. Well, let's all go back in time. Let's go back to high school, early college. Let's go back, right before that, right before that first girlfriend, before you got really serious with the opposite sex.
Oh, man.
And of course, you guys are happy with where your life is now, I assume. But there's a butterfly effect. And if I would have changed this, that, forget about all that, all right? You're giving advice to the 16, 18, 21-year-old you, right? You could go back and record a message to give yourself before your first girlfriend. What would you tell yourself about relationships and dating that could have potentially changed the course of your life for the better? Let's go ahead and start off with Carl.
Yeah, yes, sir. So I'm looking back. So I'd say my first girlfriend that I actually asked out and said, hey, will you be mine? That type of thing. Back in middle school, early high school, I was about 14. So I'd say it doesn't really count for this conversation because we were really too young. But
okay,
I would say, though, I'd say it counts. I'd say, be more confident to myself. it's not that serious. They like you as much as you like them. I think back then, as a youngster, had more of putting them on a pedestal than I probably, looking back, should have been doing. So I'd say, overall, it's not that serious. Just have some fun, and this is not the last girl you're ever going to be with at 14.
Your grandfather would disagree.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Especially, man, they were like, had farms and 3 wives by age 16.
But not the last girl. There you go.
Yeah.
But they had to buy their wife with 28 goats, though.
Like, basically. So I'll say overall, as y'all can tell, I
thought it was 27, but hey, maybe my translator's off. Anyway, the floor is yours again. We're rude over here, Carl. You were told yourself to be more confident, and what else? It's not that serious?
Be more confident. It's not that serious. There's going to be a lot more life experiences coming your way. So just take it easy. Don't think all the power is with the girl, because back then it's like, hey, I know I like them. Like, do they like me? How much work do I got to do? So I'll say just young Carl, relax, just take it easy.
I hear you. JT, you agree, disagree with Carl? You got any similarities, any other different pieces of advice you would have gave the 16, 18, 21-year-old you?
Those 3 different ages, 3 different sets of advice. No, I mean, I would agree with Carl. Take it easy, be simple. Mine was actually more on the introspective side of not thinking that I was so great. I think I kind of went into relationships with this idea of I'm good. Like, I'm a solid catch. They need to kind of measure up to what I wanted.
Get on my level.
And while I was always open to change and growth, I think I would tell myself, work harder at actively being a better person. I think I was comfortable with where I was. And so there wasn't as much growth as probably I should have made earlier on.
So you're conceited when you were younger. Is that you said a whole lot of word salad, a word casserole. I want to break it down to something that my audience can easily and quickly remember and understand. Conceited, yay or nay?
I'm going to have to go ahead and throw cocky, conceited in there. Yes, very much so.
That's not a bad thing, man. That's nothing but self-confidence.
I cut people off too quickly. That was probably a problem. So
anyway, all right, Reyes. What advice would you give your younger self when you started getting serious with girls that could have changed your dating future?
Oh, man. Base what I want on what I like, not just chasing people just based off looks. But I know that's easy to say when I was 12 or 13, you think a girl's cute, that's the one you're going to go and chase. But man, if I could tell you, hey man, sit back, chill, examine the landscape, what's going on. That quality is so much more important than looks, you know what I mean? Even though looks to some people can be a quality, but when I think about quality, I'm talking about just like, what more does that person have to them? Because them looks, man, that's just nothing but drama. Nothing but drama. We just out here chasing just pretty skirts, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Just sit back, man, and just look at the landscape, man, and really, to piggyback off what Carl said, take your time, man. Like, this ain't the one-all, be-all of everything. They're going to change, you're going to change, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
So whatever I used to like when I was 12 or 13, I don't necessarily like now that well, the feds might be watching. I ain't gonna say my age, but so
yeah, seasoned, not just seasoned.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I like that.
Mature. There we go.
Seasoned salt and pepper. All right, so JT, be more introspective and less conceited. Reyes, don't just chase after the pretty girls, but look for quality women and take your time. And Carl, be more confident in yourself and don't act like the world's about to end and just kind of take your time with the process. I feel like I missed another one of your points, Carl. If you could reiterate.
I think the main point was just taking it easy, being more confident, knowing that, hey, this one relationship is not the end all be all, So I think you nailed it, man.
I hear you. So what would Alexander B tell younger Alexander? Little Alex, Little Al, as they used to call him. What would I tell him? Well, probably 2 bits of advice. But before I get into it, and I don't want to go all the way on a side road, but maybe this is podcast or for side roads, maybe. But I was pretty blue pill, quote unquote, as they say in the internet dating relationship community when I was a teen. So what is blue pill? That's what, putting women on pedestals. Carl kind of brought that up. That is like women are better than you. That is, you got to break your neck to earn their favor. That is kind of probably pretty much the opposite of how JT was. It was like, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. can I please go into this restroom after you and just sniff the toilet seat? But, so just didn't have the confidence and view women as people, but they're like mini deities or whatever, you know what I'm saying? It took a minute for me to, hold up, they're people just like us, you know what I'm saying, with flaws and all these pressing things that I thought aren't really true and da-da-da-da-da. But anyway, so because of this mindset, advice I would give myself is that, Alexander, you're a man. You have to go out here and get it. You must pursue. You aren't tall. You're not a model. Women aren't going to just come up to you because you're existing. You got to get out here and get it. Just because you think, and maybe you actually are, objectively better than 70 to 80% of these other guys, doesn't mean that women are just going to magnetically come to you. You still have to go get them. You still have to pursue. You still have to present yourself. You still have to do all those things. Because I definitely, middle school, high school, even college, I was like, okay, I'm top 10% in grades. Varsity, top 5 player on the team in high school. I'm funnier than anybody else that anybody knows. I just sit here and just wait on the girl to come. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm clearly in all these areas. If I'm not the top, I'm top 10%. These women are going to see this and they're going to come. Mm-hmm. Didn't really happen. Yeah, it didn't really happen.
That's not how it works at all.
No,
right?
That's not how it works. Maybe if you're Drake or something, you can just be there and women will come. But you got to be top 1%. You can't be top 15 or top 20. So that's one piece of advice. The other piece of advice is kind of what I alluded to earlier. I definitely had idealized opinions of women that weren't necessarily true. And that kind of just affected my interactions with them and whatnot. And like I said, I thought they were deities, just better than us. Women, they just only care about character and intellect. They don't care about look. They don't care about status. Men are the ones that care about looks and sex. Women are just not true, especially at the young age. Definitely not true. You know what I'm saying? In middle school, high school, college, they're all on the quarterback's baby bag. You know what I'm saying? For lack of a better phrase, nutsack. So that's advice I definitely would give myself if I could go back in time 20, 25 years and talk to myself. Any final thoughts on this question, this subject matter?
No, it was interesting to hear your take on it, man. It really was. And even though, you might be better than 70% of the women, but if you were just sitting there, how would they know that?
I mean, I thought it was obvious. Clearly it wasn't, or it's not enough. Kind of like Carl said, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You still got to do something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it always goes.
All right, good stuff. Let's move on to the next question.
Ooh, I like this.
It's like Reyes J is ready for the next question, man.
Yeah, let's go.
It's all set.
Yeah, he's ready.
If you're enjoying the show so far and you want to ensure that the new episodes keep coming, please go donate via Cash App at $what IZ he thinking. That's $what IZ he thinking.
Girl, you better ask Alex.
So a woman posted this in a Facebook group I'm in. So she clearly was talking about a specific individual that she was dealing with at the time. It goes a little something like this. If a man states that he really cares, strongly likes, and is attracted to a woman, and even says he could see himself married to her one day, but he thinks the timing in which they met is wrong, and he hopes they can reconnect in the future, what does that really mean? So she asks, is it possible for him to feel the above mentioned and still think about the woman often, but not contact her? And additional question, if yes to question number 1, why would he desire to be apart from her and not contact her, even if it's for a season, and run the risk of somebody else coming in and swiping her up and taking her off the market? Why does he not wish to do what's needed to maintain the relationship?
Reminder, if you are enjoying this episode, please comment below if you are on YouTube, or rate us 5 stars on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
What do you guys think about this? We'll start off with Mr. Anxious, Reyes J.
Oh, man, I put a big old yes. Yes, it's possible for him to feel this way above him. Because especially if you hear from men, for some reason, we're just dumb like that on one way. We can really care about somebody and just go off on our things and get put on with other little stuff that we think is needed to have a relationship with this person. And plus, there's always a saying, young fools become old fools. So, we probably usually don't realize it. And plus, I don't know, I have a lot of my friends, especially at this age, that are single, and they always talk about the one that got away.
The one that got away.
Yeah, so you always hear that, especially now that I'm getting up and feds are still watching, so I ain't gonna tell you my age. So, but yeah, if yes, why would he desire to be apart from her and not contact her? Even for a season, I think sometimes it comes down to a thing of like pride and wisdom. Too much pride and not enough wisdom. So that's usually when it happens. And then usually they get Trayvon Diggs. You know what I mean? That girl got intercepted.
Wow. Ladies. Trayvon Diggs has the most interceptions in the NFL for the last 2 seasons, if you don't know what he's talking about.
Yes.
Look him up.
Yes. Go Cowboys. But anyway, that's, but a lot of part, that's just what happens. You know what I mean? We think that thing will always be there, and we want it to be on our timing, but it never really works out like that.
I hear you on that, JT. Agree, disagree? You got something to add, take away? What you got?
I think there's a movie, right? I think it was called He's Just Not That Into You. I think that very much applies, because you hear people all the time say, I don't want a girlfriend, I don't want this, I don't want a relationship. And they flip right over to this new person and they're doing all the things that they said they weren't ready for. So I think that's one factor. But kind of in agreement with Ray S.J. there, like, I think that, yeah, it's possible for somebody to be deeply attracted to someone, or in a sense, mature enough to realize, like, the timing isn't good, whether they're looking at themselves or they're looking at her, right?
Yeah.
But to his point, I mean, they shouldn't expect that person to be available or even receptive by the time you deem that it's ready.
And I'll add on to that too.
All right.
I agree with the points that Ray S.J. and JT made. But, I kind of first saw this from a more skeptical angle. Like, it sounded like she just got ghosted, and this was the reason that was told. It's like, hey, I like you a lot. I can see myself with you. I promise, Just
it's not you, it's me.
It's not you, it's me. Give me some time to go figure myself out, right? This speech, a version of this speech has probably been spoken by, I think, everybody on this call at some point.
Yeah.
My main thought here when I read that question was, yeah, it's possible, but at the same time, just from my own personal experience, I wouldn't put myself through that misery. If I really like somebody, I would want to be there as much as possible, especially knowing, like, she might get Trayvon Diggs. It's possible that, get swooped away. So while I think as a man, we want to get things in order, want to get ourselves to a place in life for that one person we think is that special person, my thought too is that this could also be something where the guy probably just wasn't as into her as she thought, and she's now questioning things like, hey, could he ever come back? And chances are, like Ray S.J. said, or JT said, he might find somebody else, and that might be it. So,
or she might find somebody else.
She might find somebody else too. So I would not keep that candle burning.
Why do we think like that? Like, why do we think like we had to come back? We got to get ourselves right before we come back, instead of just bringing them along for the ride. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we just want to be ready. Like, we want to feel like we can provide security, and also just be the people we picture ourselves as wanting to be before we settle down. Yeah, that's how I think we're kind of wired as men.
Let me piggyback on that. I think that's a big component of it. The same thing I'm sure all of us went through before we decided to pop the question, right? We were with women long enough to say, like, this is the one, but you want to make sure everything's right. You want to be set. You want to have this to be able to, like, take care of a family or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it kind of on top of that, right? There's a difference between, hey, this is something we need to work on. It might be uncomfortable in the moment, versus like major overhauls you think that she might need to make or you need to make. And if it's for her, right, at least you give that woman the respect of saying, like, hey, here's something I've identified, like, what do you think about this or whatever. But if you think it's something that you need to change, right, you're basically saying, like, I'm unwilling to change right now or work hard enough to improve myself, right? So if that's the case, I feel like you've done her a favor, right? And so, like, that's the luck of her being available when you finally put in that self-work to be a better person. So
that's an interesting point. I like that question, Reyes, because that was kind of what I was thinking, or something I was going to comment as far as why do men feel like we have to have everything together before we can actually take a woman seriously? And I'm thinking part of it is natural or whatnot, but another part of it I feel like is just kind of generational. It's the current time. I feel like people in general, like our grandparents, I spoke about this on podcasts 2 years ago or whatnot, but our grandparents in times before were willing to grow together with somebody. Hey, we're both fresh out of high school, or I'm 21, you're 17. Hey, this is 100 years ago, so don't look at me crazy. This is how it was. We're both kind of inexperienced at life, but we'll put our 2 shillings together and we'll have 4 and we'll start with the mattress on the floor and we'll build this together. Like, that was way more accepted, I feel like, a couple generations ago than it is now. So even if the woman would be willing to do that with a man kind of doesn't think that that's an option. If I'm not fully mentally ready, if my money isn't right, if my career isn't right, then I'm not even going to take any woman or any relationship seriously.
Right.
So that could be going on, or what Carl said, this could just be him letting her down slowly. You know what I'm saying? We could be digging too deeply into this, and he just had a better looking woman. Yeah, he can handle a rotation of 3, and she was the 4th, so he had to kick her out the rotation. You know what I'm saying? It could be as simple as that. You know what I mean?
Or she just finished watching Love Jones or something.
Yeah, possibly. You feel what I'm saying?
I mean, let's be honest. I think we all make good points about really thinking through, like, what could this mean? But in all honesty, if one of my sisters came to me and said, hey, yo, some dude was like, he's really into me, but he doesn't think the time is right, I'm like, if you don't kick him to the curb.
Yeah, so advice that I would give the woman that wrote this, like, you got to move on with your life. If he comes back into your life later on and it just so happened that things work out, then it's all good. I mean, that kind of almost actually happened in my own personal life. You know, me and my wife didn't see eye to eye initially or whatnot. Kind of went our separate ways. A year and a half, came back together. And 3.5 years after that, you know what I'm saying, we're husband and wife. So it is possible, but you know,
there we go.
That's different between possibility and probability. So the advice that we give you on 100%. This podcast is probability, not possibility. So just to get back to the question, you know, is it possible for him to feel all the ways that he feels and still think about her but not contact her? Yes, it's possible. I hate questions that ask, is it possible? Those are bad questions.
Anything's possible.
Like,
Anything's possible.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's possible to drop out of the 5th grade and be a billionaire, but is that what you're going to teach your kid to do? You know what I'm saying? Is that the method? Is that how the strategy? Is that? No, it's not. You know what I'm saying? I feel like in one of Chris Rock's stand-ups, he's like, you know, you can drive a car with your feet, but are you going to do it though? Like, is it a smart idea? Like, you do that if you have to. If you know what I'm saying, don't have any arms, you don't do that for fun. So yes, it's possible, but kind of like we've been tossing this question around, I feel like a little bit more context is needed regarding their situation to properly answer this question. There's a difference between a man thinking a woman is hot and a man thinking a woman is wifey material. Then there's also a difference between him actually wanting to marry that woman. I could view you as wifey material, but not for me, or wifey material, but not right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just different levels to it. And just depending on what the man thinks of himself and where he is in life, sometimes a man only knows he can be a friend at a certain point in time. He knows that things got romantic, they wouldn't progress in the way that they should, and he just didn't want to go down that road. So he's just kind of avoid it all. I don't want to say at all costs, but he knows he can see the future, doesn't want to drag her through that. And the fact that he's not contacting her, and she seems real concerned about, why is he not contacting me? If he thinks this highly of me, why aren't we talking, this or that? I think I came up with this analogy in high school, maybe in college. Tell me if you've heard this one before, JT, because we went to college together. Men don't like to hang around the kitchen smelling food and chatting with the chef for the heck of it. If we're not going to get a plate, we ain't trying to hang around in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not going to go near the kitchen unless it's time to eat. You know what I mean? Sir. Like, so if he ain't trying to do something for real with this woman, and he respects her too much to just have her as a plaything, then he's not going to be hanging around. You know what I'm saying?
Just a snack.
Would y'all agree or disagree with that?
100% agree. What did Maya Angelou say? Like, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. I mean, if a dude tells you, I'm not ready now, whether it be good reasons or trash reasons, he still told you. So, like, why are you debating it? The why doesn't matter in my mind.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
Yeah.
I agree with that too, especially about the kitchen analogy. I mean, there's guys who can have friends who are females that they're attracted to. I just don't know these guys personally, man. It's just not
it's a possibility, but it's not a probability, right?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, you just don't do that to yourself. Why torture yourself? So if he's not going to be there now, she needs to just move on. Like, to JT's point, he said exactly who he was for the time in their lives. I would not hold that candle.
Yep.
I hear you. Any final thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, I like that kitchen analogy though. That was a good one. Are you the main meal or are you the snack?
PB&J.
Yeah.
You know?
Look, and everything in college revolved around food, so that made sense in multiple ways.
That's right. We would go to any type of meeting if they had free food. You know what I'm talking about? It could
It's
be
called survivor
Going to
skills.
the KKK rally, we was there.
It could be the blind atheist meeting, and we'd be all there with our Bibles to eat the pizza. Pizza.
All right, I think we've reached a good stopping point. So tell you what, we're going to hit the pause button on this conversation right now and pick it right back up next week, episode 2 of season 3, with Carl, JT, and Reyes J. My name is Alexander B. Stevens. This is the What Is He Thinking podcast. We hope your tomorrow's better than your yesterday, and we are out.
There you have it. Another captivating episode in the books. You have just listened to the authentic male perspective on dating and relationships. If this episode resonated with you, make sure to share it with a friend and leave a comment. If you want to be on a future episode, you have a topic suggestion, or you need any clarification about anything said during this current episode, feel free to send A.B. Stevens an email at whatishethinking@gmail.com or DM the show on Instagram. What Is He Thinking? The podcast that is here to help you win with men. Signing off until we speak again.